Hi, this is Dave, Bell Running Guide. Welcome to this week's map reading task. We're in the Peak District again this week, and I want you to identify the point from where this photograph was taken. We've got 3 possible maps, but only one of them is correct. So we've got a map here, another map there, and another map there. Now all 3 maps have got this transmitting station on it, so it's not too difficult to identify that, but the transmitting station is at a different point on the maps, so that we can have a look at different options. So let's have a look at the photograph and see what we can see. So I've zoomed in a little bit. The obvious features, we're right on a fence, and that fence changes direction, but not all fence lines or walls are shown on the map, so we need to be a little bit cautious about that and just go on the landscape features. We've seen the mast, so we know that that's on the map, but if we look ahead, we're on gently descending ground. Looks like it's fairly flat to the right, and we can see at this point here on the left it drops away, and then if we zoom in a little bit more, we can see at this point here the ground drops away slightly and then rises up slightly to the other side. We've got this area here where the ground is flat and then drops down to this big valley on our left hand side. Looks like there's some buildings just to the right of that mast, and if we notice the direction of the fence, if we were to project this line on this fence, imagine if it carried on, it would go across here and it would be to the left of this mast as we look. So let's see if we can see any of that on the maps. So could we be on this map? Well, remember we were looking across to the TV mast, and the ground was dropping away to our left, so it'd be quite difficult to be anywhere on here where we were looking across and the ground dropping to our left, or flat to our right, because if we're over here the ground to the right drops away. So that doesn't really fit with that map. Let's have a look at the next one. Well, could we be looking over here to the mast? Well, no, the ground will be dropping to our right. Could we be over here somewhere? Again, the ground will be dropping to our right, and also the TV mast here is about 530 meters. If we're over here, we'd be higher up, look, 565, 575, so we'd be looking downhill to that TV mast rather than across some flat ground. So that doesn't really fit. What about the third option? Well, if we've got the TV mast there and we were over on this area of ground here, then the ground would be dropping to our left and fairly flat to our right. What about the fence line? So these black lines are boundaries, so walls or fences. So is there anywhere on here that we could be? Well, remember that fence line was extending towards the transmitting mast, but slightly to the left of it. So couldn't be that, because that's extending to the right. Could it be somewhere on here? Well, that extends to the left, but maybe a bit too far left. This extends to the right. This would extend to the left, so could we be somewhere on Britland Edge? Well, let's have another closer look at that photograph. And if we look at photo and map side by side, photo zoomed in, remember we talked about this area here, this dip that then drops away down into the valley to our left. Well, if we're looking from here, along. There's a drainage line going down, so that ground dropping down into the valley with a road in it. The road goes up towards the transmitting station, and we might just about be able to make out a road in there. Whether that's a road or a stream, difficult to tell just by looking, but it's certainly in the dip after this steep slope dropping down there. So we can see the contours getting close together, tight there, dropping down into the road and further down into the valley bottom, which then rises up on the other side. And we just about see the contours starting to rise on the other side of the stream there. So yes, the answer was photo taken from this little change in direction of the fence line there on Britland Edge, looking over to Holme Moss transmitting mast. So not too difficult this week, but hope it gave you something to think about. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Look out for next week's map reading task. Bye for now.